Happy December.
Hello everybody, you are tuned into Non-Wealth. My name is Neo.
And my name is Lebo.
Today, quite an exciting topic. So this one is not only for first-time buyers, however for property investors. So if you are about to buy a property and you're like, what are my monthly expenses? This one is for you.
So today we're actually going to be telling you about the 6 monthly expenses that property investors actually get on a monthly basis. Now, number one,
we're actually speaking about your bond expenses, which is your most biggest expense when we are looking at your monthly expenses. So now with the bond, actually, I also wanted to touch in on the interest rates because that recently happened in South Africa. So what happened in South Africa is that our interest rates actually increased. So now what that means is that we're paying slightly more, or when they do decrease, we pay slightly less. So I know that end of the month, it's actually the 2nd of December today. So some people have already experienced that there was an increase in the bond that they were paying. So as I did mention in the previous video, that if it did increase, do not be shocked that, or go to the bank and ask them that what did happen. Understand how the prime or the repo rate actually affected you by looking at the previous video.
2 things that I actually want to touch on based on your point, right? If you miss these 2, chances are it's going to be hard for you to renegotiate it so that you pay a lesser bond, right? The first one is when you're going to actually buy the property, make sure that you negotiate as much as possible so that when you do actually get your bond cost, it actually goes into your affordability. So say for instance, if you have a property right now that's selling for 1 million and now you want to buy that property, however, you know that you can only spend around 8,000 on a monthly basis. Basically means that you need to be buying your property at around 800,000, close to 900,000, nothing more than 900,000. That's the first part that you can actually negotiate. If you didn't actually get the best deal there, then you need to make sure that you get the best interest rates in the market right now. So now how you actually get the best interest rates is through your bond originator. Once you've actually spoken to your bond originator and they are able to actually give you the best deal of that particular property, then it becomes easier for you to actually check that, okay, how much should I actually be paying on a monthly basis?
But before we actually move on to that, right, Lou, I want to ask, have you ever been in a situation whereby the tenant is giving you grief and you know you're supposed to be paying your bond in X day? So how did you deal with it?
Man, as much as property investors, we like posting that, got a property, man,
cash flow positive.
As much as we do like saying that, right, especially when you're buying one property that has one door, it does happen that you can't actually pay for that particular month because now your tenant didn't actually pay. So now what you don't want to do is to have a bad credit score because of your tenant. So what we'd normally do is that you take out from your credit card, make sure that when the bank actually tries and deducts money from your bank account, there is money. So the skill that we actually use most of the time is that when the tenant is going to pay on the 1st of every month, what we then do is that we set the debit order for the 7th or the 8th of every month. In that way, you still have time to actually put pressure on that particular tenant. However, if it does get to the 7th or the 8th or even the 6th of the month and the tenant hasn't actually paid, you need to make sure that there is money in your account so that when the debit order actually does go through, you don't actually get penalized for that.
I mean, at the end of the day, when you're looking at bond, guys, why it's very important to actually have bond money and you do not want to miss out on that is because if the tenant is giving you grief from paying rent and now you're not able to pay bond, this will stick to your name. This will have a flag on your name. So as a property investor, this is something that you'd really like to look into so that you're protected as a property investor. Or if you just want to buy a property, please make sure that the bond for the next 3 to 4 months, you do have it, or you have alternatives such as your credit or overdraft.
So now the one thing that gets us angry, we don't really get angry that much. The one thing that gets us angry is tenants not paying on time. I remember the last time Neo was even sweating when the tenant didn't actually pay. So let's go on to the second point. The second point is your rates and taxes. So the rates and taxes, this is how much you're actually going to be paying to the municipal. the municipal will actually have a charge in terms of how much you're going to be charged in that particular area. So this is area specific. So you'd find out that in a township, people might be paying 50 rand. However, in a suburb, they might be paying 1,800 rand. The reason for these costs are, number one, the street lights in that particular area. Number two is to maintain the roads in that particular area. Number three is for refuse removal. Number four, that could also mean that the sewer system is actually maintained properly.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I mean, I know a lot of people will be like, why am I paying rates and taxes? I'm actually happy that we broke it down. We broke down what rates and taxes actually afford equal to or amount to. And then point number three, or expense number three, is that we are looking at our levies. So when we're speaking about levies, I want one thing to actually clock in your mind. We're looking at sectional title. So what sectional title is, we're specifically looking at your apartments or your estates. So what will happen there is that you know that there's a security, you know that there's a clubhouse, you know that there's a swimming pool, you know that there's a conference center if I just want to host something there. So now the question is, who pays for all of that? It's you, through levies. So all of those actually contribute towards your levies. So in terms of maintaining, especially when you're looking at your higher end. So I mean, you even look at how beautiful the eco estates are, man. I think we're gonna have something there that speaks to eco estate. As much as it's beautiful, the levy will also be as beautiful as that. So do not be shocked when you are looking at a levy that you are paying of 2,000, and then you know somebody's paying a levy of 150. They go to ensuring that they maintain the estate.
So now I remember with one of the clients that we were having, they were saying that once they've actually paid their levies, they don't have to pay their rates and taxes. That's a really big mistake that a lot of people actually do, especially in sectional titles. They tend not to pay their rates and taxes, however they pay their levies. Make sure that you do pay both of them. Then number four that we're actually going to be speaking about is your special levies. So with your special levies, what happens in sectional titles is that if they want to actually build a pool, or they want to do some sort of adjustments within that particular complex, what would then happen is that the body corporate would actually impose a special levy onto everybody. However, body corporate need to have actually told everybody that actually lives in that particular property that they might actually need to impose special levies in that particular property. I saw there was the other property, they had 2 security guards, right? So it was the first entrance, and then you went into complexes, then there was a second entrance, then only did you get to those complexes. In cases like that, special levies can also be imposed onto the people that are living in that particular second estate.
I'm proud that you made it past the second security guard. I thought that you were going to get caught by the first. And then another one is insurance. So I'd actually like to expand more insurance, because a lot of people are like, but insurance, why should I be paying insurance? The thing
Disclaimer, we just made a claim to insurance. Pew, pew, pew.
Looking at it from a cash buyer's perspective, you're not mandatory that you should be getting insurance at that point in time. So it's up to you as the buyer that, am I going for insurance or not? However, now looking at it from a bonds perspective, before you even get to the actual property, you would have received a call that, hey man, how about you get insurance?
Most definitely. So now when you're looking at your insurance, something that you need to understand is that when you buy your insurance, make sure that you play around with the insurance guys and ask them that what bargain can they actually give you. I remember when Neo was actually getting his property and he was doing a comparison in terms of how much I'm actually paying and how much is he paying. What he did is that he actually went for a lower price. However, something that I need you to understand, especially when you're in the rental space, right, and you're not looking at flipping the property, it might happen that you got the lowest price, however, you're not covered for certain things, right? Make sure that every time when you do take insurance, you understand what you're putting yourself under. So if there are some things that you are not going to be insured for, you can't actually be crying and then saying that, but my insurance is not actually covering me for this.
I like I like what you talked about in terms of understanding what does it cover. So there's also insurance for your content. So what are we saying that insurance for your content? We're talking about what's within the house, the movable or immovable objects. So in this case, we might say that, let's just say that you had an expensive carpet, or let's just say that your kitchen unit was actually burnt or something along those lines. So in that way, you actually need to make sure that, does my insurance cover that or not?
The sixth thing that we have is the management company, right? The reason why you are advocates for management company is that you are able to actually remove yourself from that particular property when you're looking at it from a business perspective. So what do I mean by this? Say for instance, you are not in the location whereby you bought the property, the one that your tenants are actually renting out. And then something does happen, there's a hailstorm, and then the water is actually coming through the roof, through the ceiling, right? And now the ceiling is about to fall off. The insurance guys will be the ones that will actually go to the property, make sure that everything in the property is actually looking good or not looking good. And then if everything is not actually good, they need to inspect in terms of what is the problem or what might the problem be. In that way, you are not actually involved in the fixing or getting people to actually come through to the property to check what's wrong, or getting the people to actually go to places and actually buy the material that's needed. That's all done by the management company. So make sure that every time when you do buy a property, you do put in a management company. And I know for first time buyers, they always will say that I'll be my management company and. However, when you do, or when you are running your numbers, make sure that you do factor in how much are you actually going to be giving to the management company, so that when your portfolio is actually at 50 properties, you don't have to go to 50 properties at the same time.
I mean, guys, please hit in the comment section that who do you think has a good heart, especially when it comes to dealing with tenant, between Neo and Lebu. Just say Neo or Lebu. We'll know who do you think has a good heart. I mean, what happened is that I also want to emphasize how does actually you managing your company affect business itself. So we were self-managing the property. Then the tenant came through, was like, you know what, I've got 4 kids, I got laid off, it's bad. So that will be up to you as the individual, looking at that person's situation and be like, you know what, I understand, things will get better, or just take off the next 3 months and then it'll be fine. Not forgetting not forgetting what impact that will have to your business. So now when you have the management company in place, the management company will be like, this is a business. I understand that you're going through 1, 2, 3, 4. However, this is the contract that you actually signed. So, comment section, Neo or Lebu, and then we'll get it.
So now the last thing that we wanted to speak about is the maintenance amount. So from every property or from every rental amount that we're actually getting, we take off a maintenance fee from that particular property. The reason why we do this is that if anything does actually happen to the property, we are able to actually take out that money. So let me give you a particular example how all of these elements actually move together. Say for instance, you have a property and now you have already put in insurance in this property. So once you have insurance in this property, what will then happen is that if anything does actually go bad into the property, your insurance is actually going to require an excess amount from you. If the insurance says that your excess amount is 800 bucks and you already maxed out everything that you need to give to this particular property and you are left with 0, basically means that you don't have money to pay the excess amount. So now if you don't have the money to pay the excess amount, basically means that the insurance can't actually go through with the claim that you have actually done. So make sure that you do put in or do put aside a maintenance amount, so that if the insurance guys do come to you and be like, okay, you need to take out an excess amount of 800 bucks, you already have the 800 bucks on the side. And also the maintenance amount actually comes in handy when you're looking at a freestanding property. Yeah. This is your houses that look like this, right? So now there are no levies that are actually going around here, and if you don't have any levies, now it becomes a problem that who's going to actually do the landscaping in this property? Who's going to make sure that the security company is actually being paid for? So that's how you actually factor in your maintenance amount when you're looking at running your numbers.
So you've got a tenant and the tenant decides to leave. What are you going to be paying the bond with? Because the bank wants their money. So all of these expenses are expenses that you should consider, whether as a property investor or if you are buying into a property.
Saturday we are on 4th December, Midrand. It's gonna be lit. So we are in December, and for December, please do hit the subscribe and the like button if you found value in this video.
Thanks for your support, man. We really appreciate it. Invest like a pro with no one.